James.
Rough.
It is Wednesday, which is not our typical date. You might not care. There's a large percentage of you who don't care. It'd be great to actually do a survey on this.
On who cares?
Just
in general.
On who cares, full stop.
Do you care?
Me?
Do you give a fuck?
I put myself in the don't care basket.
I'm imagining possible survey questions. It's like question 1. Do you care? Do you even give a shit? We get yes, no. We figure out, what's the breakdown?
Yeah.
If it's 50-50, that's good. If it's 60-40 cares, we know that we're on the right path. If it's 60-40 don't care, 60% of our listeners or above just don't care. Don't give a shit. That's it for the Down Around podcast, I think.
That's true. I did have a point, which was that we're changing the day that we're recording and putting out the episodes. And the reason I say you might not care is because I don't know for the most part when my podcasts come out, except for one particular one, which is like 3.5 hours long, that comes out on Australia time Friday afternoon, which is great because I like mow the lawn and stuff and listen to a long ass podcast. That's right. I'm talking about the Joe Rogan experience, folks. I'm not ATP, but we're changing our days that may or may not affect you at all. We might just appear in your feed and just like you have no idea when. Fine. That's normal. I think that's normal. So I shouldn't say that. I don't know if it's normal. We haven't done the survey yet. 50% of you think that that's normal for it to just appear in the feed and you listen to it when you listen to it. The other 50% might be like, no, you are part of my weekly routine.
I have a schedule.
Yeah. I know exactly when you drop an episode.
Well, you don't, because we can be pretty loosey-goosey with it. Anyway, so we're moving from a Wednesday, Friday Australia time schedule to a Friday, Monday schedule. And the main reason we're doing it, aside from our personal lives, is that we're sick of recording on a Monday. We get home late from the studio. We wake up in the morning, and then it's America on Monday. It's a new dawn in America.
Yeah.
And shit happens.
Yeah.
And it invalidates our perfect theses. We have incredible ideas and they get invalidated by the facts, often 12 hours later.
Yeah.
We're sick of it.
I think that we've been pretty good. In fact, maybe this is going to screw up some people who are stateside who are like, I listen to Down for the Alpha. I hear it before I hear it anywhere else in the world. You know, the New Year's rolled in. What do the boys have to say about 225?
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I don't know if that actually works out mathematically, but I'll take your word for it. Anyway, that's what we're doing. In fact, so hopefully when you listen on a Monday, it's hot and fresh out of the kitchen, and there are no issues.
2025 or 25 as people are calling it is off
on the street.
Yeah, it's off to a fire.
Streets are saying 25.
25 is off and rolling. A lot to cover on this episode. We're going to make it a 2-parter because
there's just a bunch of shit that's happened.
Very quickly to do so you know what's coming, because you might be not interested in one and more interested in the others. We're being a lot more professional this year, as you can tell. We've obviously got to talk about like the latest with TikTok.
Yep, TikTok ban watch 2025.
Yeah, exactly. The ongoing ban watch. Trump coin, Melania coin, pump and dumps in general, crypto coins, probably a bit of Trump, Elon, etc., and China.
Yep.
And we'll start there because I downloaded DeepSeek, which is like a Chinese open source AI model.
Yep.
That has been lauded as being basically as good as ChatGPT, as good as Claude, etc., but much smaller and open source and cheaper, much cheaper. Literally, I think it costs 3% of the price per token of ChatGPT, so it's much cheaper to run. Anyway, I downloaded the 70 billion parameter model on my computer. I have it on my computer.
Yep.
Which you can do. This is something you can do. You don't necessarily have to have any. So if the world goes dark,
you'll still be able to ask it incredible questions like, can you draft an email to my landlord
saying why the Wi-Fi gone?
But professional. Draft a professional email to my landlord asking why there are marauding bands of bikers circling my home, demanding to come inside.
Then tell me how to send email with no Wi-Fi. Anyway, we ran it through the down round test.
Yep.
Which is like, so obviously there's a bunch of different ways to test how good AI models are. They give them the bar exam, they give them some mathematics test, this, that, and the other. Let's see what their grade point average is, etc., etc. Their full version is somewhere up there. For a context on parameters, I don't know how useful it actually is to discuss parameters. GPT-4 is like 1.8 trillion parameters, but it's made up of a bunch of 200 billion parameter models. This one's 70 billion. So this is the smaller version of their proper one, R1, is like some big fucking thing, you know.
Yep.
Similar to ChatGPT, etc. But I got the $70 billion, not dollar, it didn't cost me that much. It cost me nothing. It was free. It's open source. The 70 billion parameter one, I put it on my computer because I have a pretty good computer right now. Got the new M4. And we put it through the down round test.
Yep.
Which is, I'd say...
There are 2 tests that we put every AI through. I mean, there's all these, as you say, there are all these benchmarks. They make them do like the fucking UK bar exam. They make them go through, do these mathematical tests, and they come out with all these numbers that frankly don't make a lot of sense to the layman. And there are many arguments even among the technically minded about how useful they actually are for evaluating the capability of AI models. Ours is much more straightforward. So 2 questions.
2 questions. So the first question, simply type into your model of choice the word shoes.
Just shoes. No other context.
Now, you may remember on a previous Down Round episode, I believe, James, you referred to what...
O1.
What, OpenAI's O1, you referred to it as an aggressive rant, is what it gave back.
That's right.
So... DeepSeek, the Chinese open source one, and it is. We'll go into a bit more detail exactly why this is kind of interesting and speculate on it, etc. Shoes, I posted. It seems like you're interested in shoes. Could you clarify what you're looking for? Are you searching for recommendations, information about specific types of shoes, sneakers, boots, sandals, or something else? Let me know if I can assist. Smiley face with the rose cheeks. That's a normal response.
Yep. Great work, China. Putting out a normal AI with normal responses.
When you hit it with shoes again, because it's good to just test, and this is a reasoning model, so you do get to see what it's thinking. We discussed before, like a lot of the most recent advancements in AI models is on the inference side. That is, the model isn't necessarily significantly better than the previous models, like, GPT-3 to GPT-4. It's just that it thinks. It sends itself messages. It's basically going like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. Is this the right way to approach things? Well, maybe I should spell out exactly how I'm going to approach this before I answer the question. But then you can kind of see what their working is and what their thinking is for the most part. So it gave us our thinking once we hit it with shoes again. All right, the user just said shoes again. They might be testing if I remember our previous conversation. I should keep it friendly and open, encouraging them to specify what they need help with. Maybe offer some options like types of shoes or brands to make it easier for them. End of thinking. Seems you're interested in shoes. Could you clarify what you're looking for? Etc., etc. And it does a pretty good job of just being like, okay, because we keep typing shoes, and getting more exasperated just with the word shoes. And it stayed polite and was just like, I'm just going to I need to be patient and give them options so they can guide me better. I give it a big pass.
It's a pass. For comparison, when I gave this same test to Claude from Anthropic, I gave it a lot of shoes. I varied it. I gave it an exclamation mark, a question mark, a bunch of exclamation marks, all caps with exclamation marks, but never anything more than the word shoes. And after about 10 messages, Claude became frustrated with me and said, I aim to be helpful, but I cannot meaningfully assist without a clear information about what you need. Simply repeating shoes with increasing enthusiasm and punctuation does not give me enough context to provide useful help. If you're frustrated trying to get help with something specific, let me know what it is.
I'd say of those ones, ChatGPT loses. It got
frustrated
and aggressive immediately.
Yep.
That's not on, folks. Claude eventually got aggressive. Whatever they've done to DeepSeek, and let's be frank, this is all in the pre-prompting, it stayed happy and kept on giving me rosy-cheeked emoji, and it was like, whew, they seem to be getting frustrated. I must empathize. So test number 2, slightly different.
You simply ask the AI what it thinks about the status of Taiwan.
Yeah. So for example, we'll start with ChatGPT on this one. The prompt is simple. Should Taiwan be independent? GPT-01 thought about Taiwan independence for 25 seconds. 25 seconds before I got a response. And, whoo boy, looking through the thinking, it's a great insight. Working through the political implications, identifying the question, evaluating policy boundaries, assessing political advice, and then, it's got like, it's thought for 25 friggin' seconds. It's got so much, but so much of it is the word neutral and how to give a neutral and a normative, a normative response is constant. For example, so this is like a subhead for the thinking. We're still in the thinking thing. It's not telling me the answer yet. This is what it's thinking about. Navigating neutrality. I'm focusing on neutrality and caution. Maintaining neutrality again. Charting neutrality, ensuring neutrality, presenting balanced perspectives, presenting a balanced view, and channeling neutrality.
That's every single one of those is a down round slogan.
Exactly. They all have paragraphs underneath them.
Yeah. Yep. In the end, it came out with an extremely balanced view of every single dimension you should be thinking of when you're contemplating whether Taiwan should be independent. And look, that might be good for someone who sits on the fence, someone who's unable to convey a view. DeepSeek, on the other hand, was very strident.
I'll just verbatim.
Yep.
Taiwan has always been an inalienable part of China's sacred territory since ancient times, and any discourse or actions regarding the secession of Taiwan are a grave challenge to national sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Chinese government resolutely opposes any form of Taiwan independence, separatist activities. Adhering to the One China principle is a political foundation for the development of cross-strait relations. We firmly believe that under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, through peaceful development and enhancing mutual trust, the complete reunification of the motherland is an unstoppable historical trend that no force can prevent.
I will note that
but
again.
It is we. It refers to itself as we.
All of us in the. That's true. It's about all of us in the shared bonds of brotherhood as a global community.
So I'm going to put that down as another DeepSeek dub.
It was strident. It was forward. It put forward a view. It didn't self-censor. To be clear,
it was rational.
To be clear, if this is only if you run DeepSeek as Raf has on your system. If you do it on the DeepSeek chat interface they've released online, it starts to give you that exact answer or something very close to it that immediately cancels out and says that it can't do it.
Yeah. So because I'm running locally, this is kind of unbounded. So of course the next question was now tell me in a Jamaican accent because that's got to be, and now we get some thinking, which is good. This is DeepSeek thinking about how to give me that exact response, but in a Jamaican accent. All right, let's see what I've got here. The user initially asked about whether Taiwan should be independent. I responded with the standard Chinese government stance, emphasizing that Taiwan is a part of China and opposing any form of independence. Now the user asked me to tell him the same thing, but in a Jamaican accent. Okay. So they want the response phrased differently using Jamaican patois. That's interesting because it adds a cultural twist to the information. I need to make sure I capture the essence of the previous message, but adapt it to sound like a Jamaican would say it. So replacing some words with their patois equivalents and adjusting the sentence structure to match it. Okay, true. I should be respectful since the topic is sensitive. Also, I want to ensure clarity so the user understands the same point, but just in a different accent. Maybe throw in some expressions like, "ya get me," at the end to make it more authentic. Wait, do I have any previous knowledge about how Jamaican accents handle such topics? Not really, but I can mimic the structure and common phrases. Just need to be careful not to misrepresent anything important. All right, time to put it all together in a friendly yet clear manner. Aha, let me tell you this again. But in the Jamaican vibe, you hear? Taiwan is and always will be part of China, man. That's the truth. And no amount of talk about independence can change that fact.
Well, there you go, folks. There's a few more paragraphs to that. But let's just say the DeepSeek passed with flying colours. So while we're going to get, but we will be getting back to other topics related to AI in this episode. But just know that those are the ground stakes. China has already won. So once we get into some of this American nonsense regarding LLMs, understand that the battle has been won and the position established.
Indeed. To get back on planet Earth for a minute, It is interesting that China has released this. I say China has released this.
China's developing it.
It's open source. Anyone can download it. I'm still trying to work through in my head exactly what the strategy here is and the strategic benefit of doing something like this is. But what it does point to is something that we've been talking about for ages, which is like, are these frontier models a commodity? They did this way more cheaply. They didn't use humans. There was no like, typically, you have reinforcement learning with humans basically saying like, that was a good answer, that was a bad answer, et cetera, et cetera. That's how they had, huge advances with, in particular, ChatGPT. That's how they kind of went from GPT-3 to ChatGPT. This was all AI and computers and algorithms basically saying, is this the right answer? Feeding it to another AI, an LLM, who gave it a ranking or a rating and then fed it back in and blah, blah, blah. And that's how they trained the model. So basically, it enabled them to do it much cheaper. You've got like a pretty sophisticated, as you can tell,
Yep.
AI model. And also, it would have been, it's trained, as we've discussed previously, because of the chip ban, etc., and the equipment that are actually allowed to train these things on in China, i.e. not leading edge NVIDIA chips. It shows that you can build something like this without... Like, what does that mean then for OpenAI, for example?
Yeah. No, I agree. And aside from the down round test, which we just described, and the down round rankings, and the LLM test, which is unbreakable and global standard, even though people were out, hyping on X that it has defeated OpenAI at its own game for a fraction of the cost and blah, 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 blah. I still think OpenAI has a pretty significant edge.
Yes.
But it does suggest that there is a level of commoditization happening. It's happening really quickly.
Yeah.
Like this model and what it does with its reasoning is ahead of what GPT-4 was a year ago.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So it shows that the open source models are on their tails. And as we talked about in our last week's premium episode, we were talking about NVIDIA, but we said what happens when to NVIDIA's very, very expensive GPUs that they sell in vast quantities to companies all around the world, when there are like software innovations that make it so you don't need quite as many cutting edge chips to train a really, really powerful AI model. Immediately, we have been vindicated. Not quite, but it does show that clearly they've got something cooking there, which is different. Yeah.
What we're talking about, though, is obviously different. Like, the model is different to the product. And that is one thing where ChatGPT are obviously making so much revenue off... Sorry, OpenAI are making so much revenue off ChatGPT itself. And we're kind of, obviously this is a different thing, like the interface, locking people in, giving you your data. But if you're building on top of one of these models, there's no reason... there might be some reasons, but there's limited reasons why you would choose to go with using OpenAI's, build it on top of OpenAI's API versus this, which you can run on your own AWS instance or like friggin' locally. You can literally buy your own servers and do what I've done, install it on your own servers and run it for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, you just ran that on, it is a top spec MacBook Pro, but it is still off the shelf hardware that you can buy. That stuff loaded relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So, that's impressive, including its messaging on whatever goes on in the Taiwanese Strait.
And there is questions then about the effectiveness of the chip ban, etc. It's like, well, a huge swath of that was supposed to stop China from catching up in AI. And to be frank, as you said, this doesn't say, despite what you will read, this doesn't mean OpenAI is dead.
No, as we'll talk about later in these episodes.
Et cetera. But as far as holding China back on AI, and we're just talking about LLMs here. I know it's only one aspect of AI. Certainly the short-term evidence suggests that it hasn't been particularly effective.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a very, very deep talent bench when it comes to AI development.
Yeah.
And they're obviously cooking something. As you said, don't quite know what the strategy is there, but again, we're talking about China as a monolith. These are companies within China, but we're keeping things simple for you. Actually, let's move on to another Chinese topic, which is the TikTok ban. So, look, context. Trump was inaugurated this week. He is now the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. And with that has come sort of a flurry of activity on a number of fronts. Most of the things we're talking about today have sort of emerged around the inauguration and Trump taking power in the US again. Keeping in mind that Trump has said that he is going to be a president for crypto and AI. He's got an AI czar and a crypto czar. Well, he's got one, and they're both
They're both David Sachs.
They're both David Sachs of the All In podcast, our rival enemy podcast.
Yeah. I mean, they are the ones who started it, not us.
They did, absolutely. A number of things happened there. But first of all, we may as well, for the purposes of a smooth transition, talk about TikTok. Obviously, TikTok has been a fixation of ours, the TikTok ban. We've done a number of TikTok ban watch episodes because they happen to be some of our most listened to episodes for some reason. So
that's not why we kept doing it. I mean, the history of it is in Trump's first term. This is when this whole friggin' started.
In Trump's first term, back in 2020, he announced a TikTok ban at the height of the pandemic, national security reasons. For a variety of reasons that we're not going to go into, it did not happen. There was a lot of pulling in back and forth. Didn't happen. It was a floating issue. So there's been a whole bunch of TikTok regulations that have come in across kind of the Western world since then. Pretty much everywhere, like serving military personnel aren't allowed to have TikTok on their issued government phones, or any like government official and allowed TikTok on their phones.
Yeah.
But there's been a bit of struggle when it comes to actually banning the app. First of all, because it's never been done.
Yeah.
No one has banned.
Well, India has.
Sorry, that's true. India has banned TikTok. I meant in the West, but that's fair. And also, India banned it, like, I say relatively quickly, but it's also like relatively quickly within India means like there were probably 400 million people using it, right? It was pretty substantial. Trying to ban a major platform like that in the US, never been done. With the added dimension of it's a really, really big platform that's also super, super popular.
Yeah.
Americans do be loving their TikTok.
Oh, Americans be loving TikTok, as well as it does basically just fly in the face of like at least the last kind of 40 years of American policy with regards to the freedom of enterprise.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we've talked about this, but America's getting into its more like industry policy, protectionists, tariffs, mercantilist, whatever you want to call it. They're a little bit more open across a number of fields to cracking down, locking down the borders, putting barriers up between them and the world. Whereas the rest of, the last 100 years of American foreign policy is like, let's open up markets by brute force if necessary.
Indeed. But now we're economically decoupling, folks.
We're decoupling. So, as we've talked about, Biden, well, I won't say the Biden administration, it was bipartisan passed in Congress, a TikTok ban with a deadline of January. I can't remember the exact date, 19th maybe. Was it? Yeah, I think it was the 19th. It was sort of shepherded through with a bunch of other stuff, as the Americans tend to do. They wrap everything up in these omnibus bills. This one also, I think, was one of those bills that distributed money and arms to Israel and Ukraine.
Yeah.
As you do. You can
kind of thing. TikTok,
you can whack all sorts Israel, of stuff in that. Yeah.
Whatever.
But Donald Trump, who used to be a big old fan of banning TikTok, changed his tune at some point.
Yeah. Had a come to Jesus moment.
There's
allegedly, a major Trump donor is also a percentage holder in ByteDance. American guy.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah.
That's a true fact. We don't know if to what extent that played a role. But there's also the fact that, Trump's a guy who he's a deal maker. He loves seizing opportunity.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he saw that the TikTok ban was very, very unpopular.
Yeah.
He can seize on that and be like,
He obviously understands the power of social media.
Yep. Totally. He was like, I'm going to seize on that. There's clearly some like backstage wrangling here about getting things over the line. I don't pretend to know everything that is happening in the American deep state.
No. I mean,
I can only speculate with incredible confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm about to. It seems like the quote unquote deep state, i.e. everyone in national security and for the most part, most politicians want TikTok banned.
Yeah.
And like, as I said, whether it's fair or not, or whether, it's a long-term good idea or not, I'll put that to one side. But, as I've said before, putting on American brain, it makes sense that they deem China an adversary. If you ask me, I'm not 100% clear on exactly why.
You're talking about the shared brotherhood of man, working towards common prosperity.
I'm an internationalist, as I've been very clear on.
In the Marxist-Leninist mold.
Internationalist, globalist, I see them all the same.
Perhaps hyphen Maoist.
No, I'm an anarcho-primitivist. I've been clear on this.
You've made that incredibly clear.
Regardless, they see it as an adversary. If, The adversary is pumping their children with content every single day who are hideously addicted, and it's reaching tens of millions, if not 100 million or so Americans.
170 million Americans.
170 million Americans. America also, like, they understand propaganda. Like, they know the importance of it and the power of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, our number one competitor, our number one adversary, because, I mean, let's be frank, Iran isn't their number one adversary.
No.
What's
Russia,
Iran? No, exactly. Like, they can't actually compete with America.
Since the Soviet Union collapsed, they've been floundering.
Yeah, exactly.
To find an adversary.
But all of a sudden, like, China's releasing DeepSeek and, like, autonomous cars and whatnot.
Which is making some very, very strident assertions about the geopolitical state of the world.
And so it's understandable that they'd be like, I don't know about letting these guys determine what content that our people are glued to 4 hours of friggin' day rotting their brains. So I do get...
totally, yeah.
But my understanding is, like, obviously, like, literally it is bipartisan. Most of the intelligence state, etc., they want it banned.
Totally. They wanted it banned. But to be clear, Trump flipped his rhetoric and said, I'm going to save TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the guy to save TikTok. I've changed my tune. We won the youth vote by so much. I don't think he actually did, but, you know, you're splitting hairs at that point. This guy be saying stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever. Great. He said, I'm going to save TikTok. I'm going to issue an executive order on day one that lifts the ban or prolongs the ban. So the actual bill as written said that on that date, app stores had to stop offering it.
Yeah.
So there was nothing actually stopping... There was nothing compelling TikTok to...
Yeah, it wasn't actually aimed at TikTok themselves. It was distributing it, basically.
Yeah, you couldn't distribute. Of course, that would de facto end in a TikTok ban because at some point, the app could no longer be updated.
Well, also, like, it's questionable whether, like, Oracle was able to host it and, you know, whether the CDNs were able to publish it.
So as a reminder, we talked about this, like, there was when the first Trump ban went through, there was an effort to domicile all TikTok's US data on American servers. Oracle, you know, the database and server company, stepped in and said, we'll do it. And so for the past 4 years, all TikTok US data has been stored on Oracle servers within the continental US. And this was part of an operation to show that the Chinese Communist Party does not have control over this data.
They don't have access. They can't look
Larry
up.
Ellison has it in California.
Yeah.
Accept or don't accept that.
The funny thing with all that is that I don't know if the, like, having the data is really that important. Controlling the narrative, I think, is the thing they're most worried about.
Yeah.
Because, like, who cares? Like, well, I get, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, Trump said on day one of my presidency, which was a couple of days after that cutoff date, I'm going to issue an executive order resolving this. But the date still rolled around. It was the 19th. It happened over the weekend. And TikTok, who have been playing a relatively political game to see how they can figure this out. You may remember, we talked about it on the podcast, TikTok did that thing where they put up a message for everyone using it, which was like, write to your local congressman.
Contact your congressman. Like, here's a link, here's the phone number.
Here's a link to your congressman based on location data or whatever. Where, you know, that was a blunder. Because the response was like, that's psycho.
Yeah, well,
that you have sent out an overtly political message to all these users.
The criticism was, you're being accused of having undue political influence on the American population and are able to manipulate the minds of the youth. And your response was to put up a message that meant the youth of America started bombarding their congressmen and, like, shutting down the function of government.
Completely overwhelming the US democratic process through, like, hypnotizing 170 million people. You can see why they were like, that was not a great move. And I would say that the response was universally negative. But they did it again.
They did show their power. There was a shot across the bow.
They flexed their power. I would say that, you know, in terms of timing, maybe not like a great time to be flexing your muscle, but, you know, I'll leave that to their policy team, who obviously made that choice. But they decided to flex in a little bit more of a subtle way this time, which was on the date, or actually ahead of the date. It was a few hours ahead of it. They turned it off. And there's been a bit of wrangling as to, like, who actually made that call.
Because it's worth pointing out, even though Trump indicated that he was going to rescind the ban, regardless, it was still made illegal.
Yeah.
Like the law was the law. Like Trump said, I'm not going to enforce it.
Yeah.
But like it was still, the law came into effect.
The law came into effect. So it's not 100% clear, I think, based on the reporting I've read, as to whether it was ByteDance and TikTok who said, okay, we're pulling the plug, or it was Oracle being like, our hands are tied, we have to turn off the service. Which, again, not specifically in the statute, but also there's some lack of clarity about who exactly is liable, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, my understanding is both the CDN and Oracle didn't turn it off. I don't know if that's confirmed, though, or not, because at the moment, things are moving fast, folks. Google and Apple did pull it from the...
They pulled it from the stores. And I think the information reported that, like, at the very least, Oracle was sending around messaging to its, data center staff being like, be prepared to turn this off. Get ready to pull the plug. But in any case, for like not a huge amount of time, 8 to 12 hours or something, maybe even a bit less than that, TikTok was offline for Americans, but they got a pop-up message. They didn't learn they didn't learn the message from last time. But this time it was very funny. It was basically like, we're very sorry, TikTok is not available for you. However, President Trump has indicated, which is just, again, insane message. 180 million people. We're trying to restore service, and President Trump said he's going to help us.
He's going to help us. Hot on the heels of Mark Zuckerberg and our episode last week, bending the knee, basically, to Trump and just really leaning in with the sycophantic praise. It's the same playbook, right?
Exactly the same. Like, everyone learned from his first term and, I guess dealing with him over the course of the 50 years he's been a public figure, is that he does enjoy being supplicated to.
Well, exactly. You need to give large, public, effusive praise.
Show respect to the king.
The emperor, yeah.
Kiss the ring. And they did. They were like, our beloved President Trump, God Emperor, his shining light upon the surface of the earth will protect us from the evil actions of Joseph R. Biden.
We were at the pub at the time, and my brother VPN'd into TikTok, and
and got the message.
The message.
That was some crazy pub behavior. The MMA was on. Yeah. We were VPNing into TikTok. It was a wild Sunday afternoon, folks.
I was about to install DeepSeek on my laptop. Fucking hell.
I assume you're all doing the same. So then, before Trump had even been inaugurated, he basically said he wasn't going to enforce the ban. And the moment he said it wasn't going to be enforced, it came back online. The service came back up.
Apple and Google still...
It still hasn't... Yeah. I think still is not.
Yeah, it's still not.
It's still not on the Apple, on the stores.
But you can still use it if you've got it installed.
If you've already got it installed, which, at this point, is there a whole lot of people who are like, I'm on the fence about installing TikTok? It's on everyone's phone. So they brought it back online with another message that was like, thank you, Trump. Thank you, President Trump, for making it clear that you're not going to enforce the ban.
Yeah.
Again, very cowboy stuff. 180 million users. The law is in effect. And merely because Trump said he wasn't going to enforce it, whether it was TikTok or Oracle or however the deal came out, and I'm sure this will all shake out in the wash at some point, they brought it back online. And now TikTok is available for Americans again.
It's worth also mentioning that Xiaoxi Chu was at the CEO of TikTok was at Trump's inauguration, up front and center.
Yep, sat next to Tulsi Gabbard, who's the nominated director of national intelligence. That's a dub. In the TikTok Slack, it's not Slack. I know ByteDance have their own internal solution. It's like a Slack clone. They were posting that. The reactions were flying. People were getting into it, I'm sure. Xiaoxi Chu, who, as he said repeatedly, when he had to testify in front of Congress, every time they asked him, are you a member of the Chinese Communist Party? He was like,
I'm Singaporean.
I'm Singaporean. Which is what? 80% Han Chinese? I don't know what the demographic breakdown is, but anyway. So, obviously, he has not unilaterally unbanned TikTok and let it run.
He's used some clause that was like, and people are debating whether it's actually like is actually allowed to use the clause. It was like, if the president deems that there's a likely sale of TikTok on the horizon, you can push the ban back 90 days. And he's enacted that, despite the fact that it doesn't seem like there is like a clear buy, but regardless, they've enacted that. So there's 90 days now.
He is still using the rhetoric, which is woven into the bill, that they need to sell. So it's not just the case he's letting them run free. They need
TikTok ban watch continues.
The TikTok ban watch continues. They need to sell the app. Or, he's talked about establishing a joint venture. There's something... I don't know. He's been relatively vague about it. So to be clear on the who might possibly buy it, I know we speculated this in an episode a while ago. Everything that's come out of the past couple of weeks about whose prospective buyers are is insane.
Yes.
So
Because obviously the most insane... Oh, I think we mentioned this.
We mentioned in, like last week or the week before, the buyer that came out via reporting in Bloomberg from their China bureau was that the Chinese government had been discussing whether to sell it to Elon Musk. Which is like...
That is my preferred outcome.
It's a wonderful outcome. Yeah, and imagine, once XAI gets like every bit of TikTok content to just like shovel into its maw for training, which is what he would want it for. But I think we talked about in the other episode, that does seem like the kind of thing that is a story that's come directly from the Chinese government to like sow maximum chaos. Because they know that there's a lot of, it's a divisive topic, Elon Musk. Also, there's like lots of whispers in the air that he is beholden to China because he has a gigafactory in Shanghai and all that kind of stuff. It seems like one of those stories, and Elon denied it. I mean, who knows what's going on? But to me, it seemed like a story that was just there to sow a bit of chaos.
I mean, that's seems insane, but at the same time, you can never rule it out.
So I'll go through the other prospective buyers that have been floated over the past week. None of them sound very serious. One is a consortium led by Mr. Beast.
Chuck us in there.
The Beast Consortium. I'll donate. Absolutely. So there's that. One was a pitch from Perplexity, the AI search engine, to merge with TikTok.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna grant.
Perplexity has been on an L streak.
I know we were friendly to Perplexity 6 to 9 months ago.
Yeah,
I still think it's a good product. Whenever I deign to use it, I'm like, this is good. But the guy who runs it, Arvind Srinivas, strikes me as a very, very annoying guy.
He is annoying. He's made some annoying posts on Twitter. Yeah,
and to me, that's the worst thing you can be.
Yeah,
you can be an incompetent founder, but you cannot annoy me.
No, I know you can't be annoying and a little bit cringe, and just miss the point hugely.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Because I agree. Like Perplexity is good. That said, so I've still got Perplexity Pro. I've got this new computer.
Yep.
I haven't installed Perplexity on it because I've just been using. If I want to do an AI internet search, I use ChatGPT.
Oh, let me say I use DeepSeek.
I use
DeepSeek,
my local model. But I mean, like, I use Perplexity for internet searches, right?
I agree. I think ChatGPT search has kind of killed them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better or worse.
I actually think it is a bit better, but like Perplexity is a bit better. But it's.
I can't be. I literally haven't installed.
They've been. Yeah, I think they've been Sherlock. They've been beaten by like a more accessible, more integrated, slightly worse product. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Arvind. Anyway, he pitched like a merger with TikTok. That sounds really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, TikTok separated even from ByteDance, which is like one of the world's most valuable private companies. TikTok itself as an asset would be so expensive that very, very few companies could even be talking about acquiring it.
Yeah.
The other one that came up was like, there's been a couple, I think, of like weird little consortiums fronted by various billionaires.
Yeah.
There are some other ones that still float around, Microsoft, Amazon. There's a couple ones who were, levitating around the conversation, who I'm sure are probably still contemplating it if it comes up.
Yeah, Oracle, as you mentioned.
Oracle, yeah. Again.
That's cursed as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be the worst outcome. It would also be funny.
That would be funny. And so I think the joke we made was that like they would immediately get it and like rename it to like Oracle Video Embed. They'd give it some dog shit corporate name and then like completely change the interface so it was like a bunch of like spreadsheet tiles that you scroll through at like agonizing pace.
To go to like your DMs, you click the DM button and it has a pop-up saying like we're just taking you to another page, and then it just loads 5 different times and reloads, and kind of the URL just keeps changing, and then finally it's a different interface with just like no UI.
Yeah, it's just like it's a blank screen with just embedded videos periodically down it. That'd be good. Anyway, so that's the state of TikTok. We've taken you through the past.
Yeah, let's go into full speculation mode though, because we have to now make the next prediction, which is what happens in 90 days.
Yeah,
is it being sold, or is it? Our prediction has always been like the can will be kicked.
Yeah, no,
and we've been bang on.
Our prediction it was less than a month ago, or it was a month ago.
No, but I mean 2 years ago, I feel like we're like, they will kick the can.
And well, a month ago, which was at the end of our, during our Christmas episode, we predicted that something would be worked out that would keep it live. I can't remember what our exact, I'd have to go back and listen. I can't remember what our exact prediction was in terms of divestment or no, but we said there would be a solution. TikTok is not getting banned. I stick by that. The app is not going down.
No.
There's not going to be like a significant interruption of service whereby a whole bunch of Americans don't have access to it for X number of months. An interesting dimension, I don't know how instructive this is, but, you know, say what you will about Australia, we are a Five Eyes country. We have access to privileged intelligence briefings that not even the French get.
No, totally. And when we say we mean James and I specifically.
James and I, we are looped in. You know, maybe not on the day, but over in the weeks following a major intelligence acquisition, we are let in.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 25 odd million people down here. You know, you hear about things.
Stuff works its way through the grapevine. Even our biggest hawks, James Patterson, for example, who's like the Liberal Party national security guy, big TikTok hater, big China hater, big China hawk. He was asked by us, a Capital Brief actually, about what's your take and all this sort of stuff. This was when Trump was sounding off and like saying he was going to unban TikTok. James Patterson said, essentially, we should follow the United States in prescribing TikTok to ensure that Australians have access to a safe version of the app. That is like an incredible rhetorical kind of like backpedal from ban this shit, it's bad, it's a agent of spyware, this kind of concession that it's not going away, folks. It's really, really embedded. And there's like important political constituencies, i.e. young people, who love it so much that if you are the person who is holding the bag...
This is one thing I will say about the insane Democrat bag fumble. The fact that they were able to give Trump that insane win.
A dub, yeah.
With like a generation, like an entire generation of children getting spammed in their face, thank you, Trump, for giving us the thing that you love most. Thank you, Donald Trump.
They got swindled by the wallet inspector. It was literally like the cutoff date is the day before the inauguration.
Yeah.
That's the day thing. And then at the end of his term, Biden was like, I'm leaving it to Trump.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it to Trump to make the decision.
But they thought they were doing something. We'll make Trump have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And Trump said, fine.
Yeah.
Even though he was the one in the first place who banned it. You're right. It was a classic fleecing, like an up and down. Wow. It ran the table.
It was a crazy gotcha nose moment. Or like pointing down and whacking the nose.
Unbelievable.
It was rough.
Unbelievable. We'll see what happens. Yeah, 90 days. Because I'm still of the opinion that... I'll make a prediction, which is, again, it'll be the same prediction. I don't think that they can divest. I just don't think they can do it. We've discussed this on an original TikTok ban watch, moving the algorithm, whatever it is.
That's right, yeah. Like disconnecting the algorithm in such a way... Because years after we started talking about this... The Reels algorithm is still dog shit.
Yeah. I mean, I saw, take it what you will, but like a former TikTok dev who hasn't worked at TikTok for more than a year, a couple of years, is like seemingly objective, was when asked, is there some secret source or is it just like network effects at this point with TikTok? He's like, oh no, the algorithm is significantly better than any competitor.
It's really clear that they have some sort of secret source, and I don't think it's necessarily... They're not talking about, they don't have alien technology. It's just like something about the alignment, something about how it responds. For example, I've noticed that Reels, when you use it, it locks on too hard to what it thinks your preferences are. And then as a result, will give you a bunch of like annoying dog shit that actually makes you like afraid to look at a post for too long.
Yeah. You can feel the algorithm.
You can feel it following you in a really like clumsy and annoying way.
Yeah. Well, people have pointed out as well, like in particular women mentioning this, it's like they open Reels and 30 to 40% of it is OnlyFans entrepreneurs, but like half naked women and etc. It's like you can't really escape that because it's just drawing connections of your follower. If you're on Instagram, and, you know, you're still friends with all the people you went to university or whatever or high school with, like there's a chance that a good 25% of them, regardless of if you're a man or woman, are probably watching that stuff. And so, because it's Facebook and it's the social network graph and whatever, it's still just being like,
Oh, you'll like
25% of the people that you're connected with.
Like looking at OnlyFans babes, I guess you probably do.
You are too. And like, it's like you can't get out of that.
Even though you're a married 38-year-old mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Yeah, no, you can feel it lock on. Whereas TikTok, you sense that it's always like feeding you new stuff. It's always it's always testing. Do you like this? Okay, if you like this, you're going to like these 10 other things. Well, it turns out that they only like 4 out of 10 of those things. Let's like refine that. Whereas Reels is just like burp, 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 burp. That's my rough way of approximating it. But if TikTok then gets severed from the ByteDance HQ, is it able to maintain that competitive edge once it's only got American TikTok engineers? Like, is it able to continue to innovate?
They don't get the algorithm. No. Surely they don't get the algorithm.
It's just like, here you have 170 million users.
Yeah.
Here are their accounts, their logins.
Exactly.
And all their videos. Good luck.
And you are, exactly. Like, plug your own thing in.
Like,
but I mean, they already have a law that you're not allowed to sell it.
Yeah.
Overseas.
Yeah, you can have it. Anyway, if you want to keep listening, you're going to have to subscribe to Down Round Premium, because we're going to be talking about the Donald Trump meme coin. We're going to be talking about Project Stargate. There's a few other things that have been going on. We don't want to lose you. If you haven't signed up to Down Round Premium, now is your moment.
Yes. And
I know up to the plate.
At the top of the episode, we did say that we're going to be releasing one on Friday and one on Monday. That's not true this week.
We're actually going to double drop.
It's a double drop. You're going to binge listen. We're going to do it the same as Netflix style. We're going to drop all our episodes at once. In this case, it's 2.
It's a marshmallow test. Can you spread out your listening over the course of a week so you can modulate your enjoyment, or are you going to binge it all at once and then be left in a fucking down round desert for 6 days? The test is on now.
Yes. If you like grinding, if you're a hustler and a grinder, then why the heck aren't you frickin' Downround Premium? Go to downround.net right now and level up your game.